I know Kenny's on a tight schedule, so let's ask a question of Kenny DeMyler. What are the most important changes you would make in the Canadian guidelines if they're to be updated today?
Well, it's already being updated and it's submitted for publication, so
right.
It's too late.
Too late. Right. And to Judy, is there any news about the UK blood draws drawn in summer 2010?
We haven't done any of the 207 after the first 50 because we're in the process of isolating and full-length sequencing the variants that I showed you in that first 50 so that we can better detect and we don't want to take any chances with the precious samples.
Right. Well done. So, you get that? You all got that message? More variants, we're going to get them all. We're not going to be think we've got nothing when there is something that we haven't been able to detect. Right, this is one from Dr. Monroe to Dr. Flogler. Regarding molecular mimicry with cross-sections to the same host epitopes, these could be mercury and other toxins, or will they be viruses or bacteria? Could you consider the biomarkers autoantibody search would include measurements for toxins and infections? That's a complex question, isn't it? It's about molecular mimicry and cross-reactions to various host epitopes.
I could at least say something to mercury. We have worked for years on this, and we did also a lot of antibody studies for autoimmunity induced by mercury. Mm-hmm. We did immunosensitivity testing, and we looked at persons who acquired type 4 sensitivity against mercury, and we found a lot of increased antibodies, but actually there's no, as far as to my knowledge, there's no autoimmune disease in humans. Yeah. There are autoimmune diseases in other animals, but in the human there's no autoimmune disease caused by mercury.
Right.
Anyway, it's toxic. It's I don't.
Right. Well, I think that's the best we can do, Gene. If we need any more, we'll have to get together and get a bit closer together. Right. The XMR family diversity. This is, I think, for Judy. New sequences have been added to the gene bank recently by WPI. What do these teach us about the diversity of the virus family and its origins?
They don't say anything about the origins. They show us that we confirm some of the low alter diversity, so we at least have the polytropic and such. I think it's important to note that we think of the changing that the idea that the virus has to change in an individual over time is not consistent with HTLV infection. And it's important to know that HIV is only a model for HIV. You can look at other things, but this is not HIV. It can be exactly the same isolate 40 years later, just as it is in HTLV1.
Thank you. This is one, I think, for Dr. Flogler and Professor Mailer. This is from another doctor. In my clinical experience, can't read the writing. It's the doctor's writing, that's the problem. Let's see what I can make of it. Some patients have overexpression of IgM and likely then to have pathogenic antibodies that are provoking the disease. Do pathogenic IgM antibodies a big role in the B-cell proliferation, I can say?
Was the question if any of the patients had?
They have overexpression of IgM.
Not that we have been able to detect in study.
We have found them for gut bacteria.
You found it for?
For gut bacteria.
For bacteria, yes. Thank you very much. Do any of the panel know of any trials in the UK for the use of antivirals that are recruiting patients? Or anywhere patients can go for antiviral treatment? I have to say I don't, but did anyone else? I know a lot of people are pressing for this, but you're just not able to get it. We blocked it every corner. The medics can't get the test done to identify the virus. the valganciclovir, which can be used for other conditions, is not allowed for people with ME/CFS. So we blocked it at every stage. But there's pressure to change this, so it's not without hope. Are there any studies on the presence of autoantibodies in these protein prions that you were talking about, Kenny?
Not yet.
Not yet, right, thanks. Oh, this is a local one. The MRC is not funding at the moment. Do they see any implications of the recent MRC funding announcement to further their work? These are the folks in the UK. Where are they all? We've not got this work. The people who've done it in the UK, Jonathan Kerr's pulled out, which is a big loss, and the MRC funding is 1.5 million. Ian Gibson suggested that we should have 10 million at least to match the millions that have been spent on PACE trials and clinics, which are not doing much help. So there is, the answer is yet to be seen. It depends who applies. But there are good researchers in the UK, particularly in Merrick. There's Julia Newton in Newcastle as well, and others, all doing very good work. And it would be interesting to see somebody like our clinicians, like Sarah Myhill, applying, just to see if they can get her own back on these people. I think Ian raised this question about the change in biomarkers, and there's a question here. If a patient is in remission, will the biomarkers still be there? Or I think the other question I would add to it is, when their status changes, even if they're not in remission, but the status changes, will the biomarkers change and not be characteristic of the process, of the patient's illness? So do biomarkers change?
Yes.
With their illness? And I've thrown all the papers all over.
The cytokine signature changes.
Right.
It seems to change, particularly with IL-8 and the MIP-1 alpha when the virus goes latent for whatever reason. We're very close to making correlation of active infection with that, which would help a lot.
Yeah, certainly would. So the answer is what Judy's given us. They do change, but we've got work in hand which will be very helpful in finding out how they've changed, why they've changed. Nice guidelines. As we know, the PACE trials do not relate to ME. Does this invalidate the NICE guidelines? The answer is, I think, yes, they do. And it also invalidates the statements from the Department of Works and Pensions. We're going to rely on those to characterise people. So just make it well known that they were not looking at ME on their own admission. It's not our invention. It's not an accusation. They've just said it themselves. It's gone out, and I don't know where it's posted, but my guess would be it'll be Emmy Action UK, will be certainly on there, it'll be on CoCure, certainly. It's not going on the Investor in Many site. Is it on, Richard, or it's going? It'll certainly be on there.
It will be.
It will be going on, right. Teeth and severe ME. An interesting question. Does anyone know why teeth start to rot in long-standing severe ME? The teeth do seem to be very susceptible. They go for syndrome. The teeth are very badly affected. They just crumble and fall out. It's extraordinary. But anyone got any ideas why this should happen?
Reservoir for viruses?
A reservoir for viruses. Yeah, well, that's it. I think that's it.
One of the reasons is that the patient often develops dry mouth. There's much less saliva,
yes,
and you can't really wash away the bacteria as much. But there must be many other reasons.
Right. Thank you, John.
Yeah, he's right. 90% of patients have gingivitis.
Yeah, all right. So So there you've got three reasons. And God, still they come.
Also, the bacteria can produce more biofilms.
Yes.
With the
yes.
amino acids.
There's a question here for David. The 6-month limitation before any diagnosis can be confirmed, would earlier diagnosis provide you with a more effective therapeutic regimes? If you're going to, I know that some people said the Canadian guidelines say 3 months for children, but other clinicians I've spoken to always say the earlier the better. But if you abide by the 6 months wait, you've missed the window of opportunity. Is that correct? Or do you feel that's correct? Where's he gone? Has he gone?
He's right here.
Oh, sorry.
In my experience, any person who has been sick for 3 months will be still sick at 6 months. Right. So that I feel that 3 months is an adequate time. Yeah. People who may have a preceding infection that looks like this, if they're not completely well at 3 months, they go on to 6 months.
Right. So they could start all the signs are clinically there for you to take action at 3 months.
I would think that would be the right time to make the diagnosis.
Yes, thank you. The reason I ask is that the immunoglobulin therapy is used, and that those who use it in the UK, particularly Dr. Spur, who spoke at one of these conferences, says that if you're getting there early with the immunoglobulins, you can effectively protect against the illness. But if you leave it longer, you've missed a chance. So it is important clinically from that point of view for people to get in early. So we need to change the guideline to 3 months, not to 6 months.
Well, I think you have to be careful. I've seen 2 people who've come back from the developing world, Africa, Southeast Asia, with what I think are unknown endemic virus infections. They appear to be moving very clearly into a CFS picture, and then they start to resolve, and by 12 months they're improving. One woman quit coming to the clinic and sent me an email of how she won a sculling race. So I think she had lots of pep.
But is there really a harm in starting the immune therapy regardless? I mean, if you have a severe case of EBV, for instance, you can avoid it going deep into tissue or causing a severe problem. I still wouldn't see where there would be harm in starting therapy.
I think it depends on what therapy we're talking about.
Yeah, I mentioned the IgD. Yeah.
Some of my, I'd say 20% of my Gulf War people got gamma globulin.
Right.
Totally unrelated, but anecdotal.
Thank you. Now, I've noticed in the slides going through several presentations, there's been signs of the inflamed gut. There's been signs of we've talked about the activity of the gut, and we've talked about the food intolerances. All of these remind me of autism. What relationship, if any, do you see between autism and CFS Emmy?
The methylation.
Methylation, yeah. So these are just gene switches going on and off, yeah.
Which is increased by the virus.
Yeah. And so if you increase the methylation production by the host, is the virus going to take advantage of that, or
Well, the host will methylate in response to the virus and take away the methylation in the substrates from other places, causing aberrant gene expression, both silencing and turning on oncogenes as the cancer model.
Right.
Has that been shown?
Yes.
In children?
Very well, by the group.
No, the XMRV infection or induced autism?
Not for induced autism, just infection in children and methylation changes.
Right. We have with us a lady from the BMJ. She's been listening all day. Would you like to tell us what you've thought about the conference so far?
Briefly, yes, thank you. I'm Dr. Trish Groves. I'm Deputy Editor of the British Medical Journal. I'm the Senior Research Editor there. So I chair the meeting we have each week where we decide which research papers to publish in the BMJ. I've been there 22 years, but before that I was a doctor and in fact a psychiatrist, which is probably a conflict of interest you would expect me to declare here. It's been a very interesting day, and I have been heartened by the calls for epidemiological studies. You know, I mean, people now are saying things like, well, have you shown that? And, you know, for instance, should we reduce the period to 3 months? Well, the answer is you need those studies. You need to know what's happening out there to real patients. And one thing that has greatly disappointed me today, but to be fair, it's the first time I've been to your conference, is that it doesn't seem to have reflected the very good research priorities that you have on your website. On your website, you have very patient-focused research priorities. You clearly care about what patients care about on a daily basis. For instance, the president of the European Parkinson's Disease Society always used to say, in Parkinson's disease, doctors care about the waist up, patients care about the waist down. Can they walk? Can they pee? Can they have sex? You know, those sorts of things. That's what matters to patients. And these are the research questions that matter to people in Parkinson's. And I have missed today the patient and what it's like to have ME. I was glad that there was a booklet with some stories. But the research I have heard has been incredibly complex lab studies, often with no sense of how many patients there are, whether the same biomarkers are also found in control groups, how these studies relate to each other, how they relate to other evidence. And I found that very disappointing. But maybe that's because I don't know enough about this field. The BMJ is a very... Okay, well, great, in that case. The BMJ is a very clinically focused journal. We're at the edge of science translating into practice and policy. We're not a science journal publishing lab studies. So you probably brought the wrong editor here. But if you want a general medical journal that is read by 1.6 million doctors around the world every month online to understand your work, then you need to make it more clinically focused. And what I've heard today...
40 years, why are they going to understand it now? There have been endless studies on the patient perspective. We actually need hard research. That's what's been lacking. I've been ill 30 years. There's been no research in my lifetime.
Well, it sounds like you need both of those approaches.
Woohoo! One at a time, please. One at a time.
Research. It's also an insult to us to say that you have to dumb down research so that we who've got...
I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
You're saying we're not represented.
No, I'm sorry, that's what you heard.
Here represented me, they represented my daughter, they represent the people I work with that have got severe ME. We're only going to find the answers for severe ME here. We won't find it unless people print it, unless people learn about it. And I think your first statement was right. Please learn more about it and come next year.
Yes, I'd be very happy to come next year. But can I just say... Can I just say...
Right.
But I would like to come next year and speak, and I would like to speak about the research designs that you will need if you want to convince people who fund NHS research and NIH research, and the research questions that you will need if you want to get things like the NICE guidelines changed and you want treatments available through national health services, whether they're in Germany, America, Canada, Australia. I'm really pleased to come and talk to you about the study designs that need doing. That study designs. The questions, of course, up to you and the people here and the doctors who you see. But study designs, I would really love to come and talk to you about. So my challenge to you is, great, get me up on the stage here next year, and I will try and help you to get that research that will influence policy.
Before next year, it'd be great to see you next year. Professor Kennedy May saw me in 1997. My life was being devastated by ME. I'm an ex-BBC full-time journalist. That there's so much to change that is affecting people's rights, civil rights to get benefits. The prejudice that we face is unbelievable. And we have family members that read the rubbish that is written about psychiatry with respect to professional in relation to ME, but it's devastating people's lives, so people find it even hard to get the social support to live as opposed to someone wanting to commit suicide because they're in pain and can't even get pain management. We would love you to be involved, to help in the way that you've described, not just waiting until next year. What can we do before next year?
Great, well, I'd be very happy to write or come into workshops. But I was struck by the GP who spoke this morning, who made a comment, who said that in her practice, actually 80% of the people that she sees tend to have mild forms of chronic fatigue syndrome. And for some of those, studies such as the PACE trial may be useful. That doesn't mean it's useful to you. No, excuse me. Listen, if you're not going to hear me out. Okay, well then... Okay.
Whoa, please. We didn't bring this lady here to shoot her down in flames.
No.
But we've heard what she has to say. We know what we need to do now to engage her fully. And we want to know what sort of help she can give us, and she's happy to respond. James had a comment about this. Were you going to make a comment, James? Or have you?
I think the people should speak.
You think the people should speak? Right. Well, they have spoken. Because Annette Whitmore has been in this way, and she's got something to say to us.
I just wanted to say, first of all, it is really good that you were here. We appreciate it because you bring a different opinion and observation, and we hope that you can help then figure out what it is that these people need to do that would change the policies that are affecting medical care here in the UK. But I think right now what you've seen is people who are looking for causes and biomarkers. Without those biomarkers, it's very, very difficult to have an effective clinical trial with any kind of an outcome. You don't know what you're looking for. So what you saw and what you're seeing are individuals who are in those laboratories right now looking for the causes and effective biomarkers to do the very thing you're talking about. And we're frustrated with the exact same kinds of things that you're talking about in the United States. It seems to be 20 years between laboratory answers and medical care at the other end. And the WPI, the reason we formed this institute was to bring those answers faster into clinical trials and out to patient care. And it isn't just Emmy that has this problem. It isn't just this one disease, but it's all diseases. So I think it would be really effective if you were to talk to the group of doctors who do want to engage in the clinical trials and start with the idea that there are going to be biomedical clinical trials. They're going to be supported, that you're suggesting that they are supported, and then talk to those physicians who can work with these researchers.
Yes, thank you for that, because everything you said I agree with. What I can't do actually though is offer to be part of your organisation. What I was suggesting was that I would be very happy to give a talk at this conference or in some other setting about the study designs that are required to get research into practice. Yeah. That's what I'm offering, but I can't offer more than that. I have a full-time job as an editor.
Right. I think it's been a very good conference. I think the speakers have been excellent. I think they've shown that they've got a very good knowledge of trial designs, those who are involved in trials. So it's important that we take on board what they've said. We've got grounds for hope, and I think the Norwich developments and Norfolk developments really offer us something along the lines of Whitmore-Peterson, which can address the issues that have been raised in these last discussions and conversations.
I'd also like to suggest that this is a beautiful trial. It was a beautiful trial. I think that's a valuable paper, and that's the kind of paper that they need to see in this country to begin to start thinking of this disease in a different way. I think that was an absolutely wonderful trial. I want to thank you so much for bringing that to this conference and bringing it to all of us. The awareness that there is a subgroup that is on the news and there is a treatment and it looks like it's effective. It's a wonderful beginning. So thank you very much for doing that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Annette. You started us, so you finished us now. Thank you very much.